Tonight, the family of an abducted Wasaga Beach woman pleads for help.
We believe that she is still alive because we don't have a reason to believe otherwise.
The family of Elnaz Hashta also sharing new details about another terrifying attack on the 37-year-old just weeks before she was abducted on January 12th. And
we still do not have a confirmed number of trucks and demonstrators. We do not have an established end date for the demonstrations.
Police are preparing for major disruptions as growing convoys roll into Ottawa, getting set for tomorrow's demonstration on Parliament Hill. And
him getting me there on such an important day was really touching.
An act of kindness during the biggest winter storm. How a woman was able to make it to the hospital for an important surgery thanks to a stranger. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. It's been more than 2 weeks since Elnaz Hashta was abducted from a home in Wasaga Beach. Tonight, her family is speaking out about what happened, sharing new details about another terrifying attack on Hashta just weeks before her abduction. Our Greg Ross has more.
It's been devastating. I think, the family has been kind of crushed by this.
A cousin of 37-year-old Elnaz Hashta spoke to us from the United States. She asked us not to use her name out of concerns for her safety, but she says the family wanted to share new details about the abduction. Earlier this month, the OPP confirmed that Hashta was taken from this home of a family member in Wasaga Beach.
They forced entry into the home and overwhelmed the family and basically dragged Elnaz out barefoot in the freezing cold snow, took her watch and her cell phone, threw it in the snow.
The OPP say she was forced into a stolen white Lexus RX, which was later recovered by police. The family says Hashta had been attacked before at this condo in Richmond Hill, where she was living.
She had gone down into the garage. Two men who were masked had come in and beat her violently with a frying pan. And that had caused a massive gash in her head. She had about 35 to 40 stitches.
York Regional Police have confirmed the attack happened in December and say they're working closely with the OPP on the investigation. Residents we spoke to at the building today were shocked.
You have families here and professionals, so I'm surprised this has happened.
We just came out from the underground garage, so it's crazy to think, wow.
I feel very safe in this building, so I'm very surprised.
The family says there is one other twist to this story. They tell us that prior to the attack on December 21st, Hashta had taken her car to a dealership for service and 2 tracking devices were discovered. They say a third was found by police after she was attacked in her parking garage, which makes the family feel Hashta was being watched.
She's never provided any clues as to why she may have been targeted.
I'm not really prepared to answer that at this time.
We have not been able to verify the discovery of tracking devices with police or the dealership where Hashta took her car. The family and police have little to say about who the attackers might be, but they are hopeful she will still come home safely.
We believe that she is still alive because we don't have a reason to believe otherwise.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Police have identified 49-year-old Aikachi Diadi Kaja as the city's 10th homicide victim. Kaja was found shot outside a home on Avenue Road near Eglinton on Sunday night. He died in hospital on Wednesday. Investigators want to talk to anyone who was in the area Sunday between 8 and 11 p.m. They're also looking for video footage from the area around that time. People driving transport trucks, pickups, RVs, and other vehicles are arriving in Ottawa for a major protest. Many have been on the road for days to take part in what started as a demonstration against the federal COVID vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers. Growing convoys are rolling toward Parliament Hill from the west, south, and east. Organizers of the core protests hope to have everyone in place tomorrow, but there have been some delays due to weather and accidents. But early arrivals have already staked out their spots, and the protest has grown to cover much more than the truckers' opposition to the vaccine mandate. Well, as crowds of demonstrators continue to arrive in Ottawa, the city is bracing for major disruptions. Police have put a number of measures in place to handle crowds and traffic, but the police chief says one of the biggest concerns right now is the number of unknowns.
We still do not have a confirmed number of trucks and demonstrators. We do not have an established end date for the demonstrations. They could go through the weekend and into next week. We do not know all of the parallel demonstrations that may occur and or the lone wolf individuals who may insert themselves into the mix for various reasons.
The chief says his department has been in contact with organizers of the core truckers convoy, but it has not been able to identify many of the others who have attached themselves to the protests. There are particular worries about groups from outside the country that are calling for violence on social media. The police are warning of severe traffic and travel disruptions and are urging people to avoid the downtown area around the Parliament buildings. Around 25,000 surgeries and medical procedures have been put on hold this month. Now, all procedures that are considered non-urgent was stopped as of January 5th due to a spike in COVID hospitalizations. But some procedures are coming back as soon as Monday. Lorenda Redicop takes a look at what's included, plus when other surgeries could return.
CT scans and MRIs can restart as of Monday. So can pediatric surgeries and procedures. It's been a tough month for patients and also staff.
There were nights where I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my gosh, this decision to delay, what does that mean for my patient?
Dr. Fayez Qureshi is a surgical oncologist. For his patients, cancer screening will be back, including colonoscopies.
So early cancers, pre-invasive tumors can be treated with colonoscopy. So to hear that the province is opening up that capacity, I think will help.
He's also a vice president at the University Health Network and says their biggest challenge to doing more surgeries is staffing. A month ago, they were down 1,000 people for COVID-related reasons. Now that's improved to 250. That's as Ontario's COVID hospitalizations dropped again today by more than 100, though ICU admissions increased slightly.
We're watching the numbers very carefully, and every day we're starting to see the COVID hospitalizations come down.
Ontario Health's chief medical officer says stopping procedures has meant every week 7,500 patients had their care delayed. And he says there's still not capacity for most surgeries.
The bulk of surgeries and procedures like hips and knees and things like that probably aren't going to get going until we get into phase 2. And phase 2 will be triggered when we have a bit more reassurance that the COVID hospitalizations are coming down and the ICU numbers are stable.
So how much longer before that next phase?
More than a few days and less than a month, I would say, would be my best guess.
Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto's top doctor is echoing Kieran Moore's comments from yesterday, saying we have to learn to live with COVID-19.
Really, we are likely to have to find ourselves in a situation where we are learning how to live with COVID. People are talking about, eventually getting to a point where COVID is more endemic. It's part and parcel of our background. You may see some flare-ups over time. But I do think that this is increasingly where public health officials are understanding we're going to need to go over time.
Davila says public health authorities may begin managing COVID-19 like the spread of the flu every winter, and they will continue to closely monitor the impact on the healthcare system. Another day, another record for the price of a liter of gas in the GTA.
I'm a mechanic, and you can just see the prices going up. A lot of people are not fixing the cars now because of the difference in gas prices.
It seems every day I wake up, it's 10 cents higher, so you're better off walking at this point, to be honest with you.
The price shot up to $1.52 a liter at most stations. Now that's a new record for the region, and it comes as we're paying more for just about everything.
It's brutal. Everything goes up. The gas goes up, the food goes up. I don't know how we're gonna survive.
Price watchers are predicting the price will continue to climb in the days and weeks ahead. Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Nick, as you had warned, temperatures dipping even further today.
Well, Calda, last night I promised you the cold front was moving through the GTA, and it certainly did. I want to show you how the temperatures changed through the overnight. So I'm going to take you back almost 24 hours to midnight of last night, and this is where we were sitting, -4 degrees in the city of Toronto. Watch what happened, though, by the time we hit 8 a.m. in the morning. -18 degrees. It actually dropped a little bit more than I expected. So -18 degrees, and then through the afternoon, just barely climbing up to -13 degrees. We had cold weather in place. We had wind chills this morning of -28, and it gets even colder than that heading through tonight. Under clear skies, we're looking at temperatures dropping into the -20s through the overnight. You've got sunshine for tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, but it is going to be another cold day in the forecast. Here is a look at the next 24 hours. -21 through the overnight. Not quite a record, but pretty close. Wind chill of -30, tomorrow high of -11. Wind chills of about -13 to -15 across the GTA. Now, there is a bit of a warm up in the forecast, but we'll have to wait a few days to get there. I'll have that coming up in just a bit.
Thanks so much, Nick. City crews are still working to clear snow that fell in that big storm nearly 2 weeks ago. But the mayor says they are ready if more comes next week.
Referred to that as a light dusting, 20 centimeters of snow, and normally that would be a major snowfall in the city of Toronto, and maybe that puts in perspective the fact that the one we had 10 days ago was 55 centimeters. And so this one, all the preparations are always in place for a 10 to 20 centimeter snowfall, and all the different protocols that talk about when plows start, where they start, when the salting and so on start, which is even before the snow gets here. And that will all be done.
Crews have now removed more than 45,000 tons of snow from roads, sidewalks, and bike lanes across the city. And now to a heartwarming story from last Monday's big blizzard. Knowing that snow was on the way, Catherine Hawk, who's from Brampton, stayed overnight at a hotel to be closer to Sunnybrook Hospital, where she would be having cancer surgery that Monday. Now, little did she know it would still be a trek, but thanks to a stranger, she made it. Dale Mnukduk has her story.
59-year-old Catherine Hawk was diagnosed with tongue cancer in November. Her surgery was scheduled for January 17th. She woke up to this on the 7th floor of the Pan Pacific Hotel in Toronto. Outside, cars were stuck everywhere. She couldn't find a ride to the hospital.
Take it away. What happened? What happened a week and a half ago?
So here I am in 6-inch boots, trying to trudge through 18 inches of snow, lugging my little overnight bag for the hospital. So I get out the driveway.
It was just over 6 kilometers to get to Sunnybrook Health Sciences. She had 2 hours to get there and stopped at a Tim Hortons to get a bottle of water, told the staff why she was out in the weather, and continued on her way. 30 minutes later, a man parked and jumped out of a van.
And as he did that, he yelled out to me, "Hey, get in the van, I'll drive you to Sunnybrook." Well, I was so shocked, but I was so desperate at that point. I ran towards that man and jumped in the van.
The man had overheard her at Tim Hortons. Catherine Hawk spent 50 minutes with the kind stranger who introduced himself as Chris from Newmarket. She reckons Christopher is the patron saint of safe travel.
Two strangers meeting like Chris and I, and him getting me there on such an important day was really touching.
Chris telling her in times of crisis, we have to be kind to our fellow human beings. And with a successful surgery and promise to pay that kindness forward, Catherine is reminded of old lessons.
Well, I think I learned really early in life, at the age of 30, when I lost my husband, who was a Brampton firefighter, that you really have to live every day to the fullest.
Dale Mnukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Fire officials are pleading with Ontarians to check their smoke alarms and have a fire escape plan. This after more than a dozen people have already lost their lives in fires so far this year. Natalie Collada reports.
And quite frankly, and to be very direct, I don't think Ontarians are getting the message, and I need everyone's help.
In a video on Twitter, the province's fire marshal issues his plea.
I know that smoke alarms can be a nuisance when you're cooking. I know that changing batteries may not be top of mind, but it has to be. I know that pushing a button to test each month is quickly forgotten, but it's the only thing you can do to protect you and your family.
So far this year, 17 people in Ontario have been killed in fires, including one last week in Brampton that killed 3 children. The cause of that fire is still under investigation.
It's a tragic event that we never want to see happen again, and people are scared.
The city's fire chief and crews returned to the neighborhood this week, knocking on doors, reminding residents to check their smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and talk about what to do in case of a fire.
We really want to make sure people have a home escape plan, so if a fire happens, they can get out with their family.
That plan, says the chief, along with a head start because of a working smoke detector in the event of a fire, is vital.
In today's homes, if you look around your home, they're built with things that burn so easily. They burn so fast. Today's fires burn hotter and faster than they did decades ago. So the time you have when that alarm goes off is small. So when you hear that alarm, you need to exit immediately.
A Drive Past commemoration event in Brampton is to take place on Sunday to honor the brothers killed in last week's fire. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
A Toronto program that aims to tackle violence by allowing young people to process their own trauma is welcoming its 10th cohort of students. The Community Healing Project is run by the organization Stella's Place and the City of Toronto. It connects youth who have been exposed to violence or other trauma with peers to talk about mental health. Farah Morali has more.
I just remember not seeing friends coming back to school, not seeing them in the playground.
Dizzy Rackamera remembers being 13 and losing friends to violence in Malvern, where she grew up. She also remembers not talking about it until a few years ago as a student in the Community Healing Project, or CHP.
And I think being numb to that from young has really definitely impacted my journey, just professionally, not understanding why I would break down, not understanding what trauma was really affected me.
The program takes youth 18 to 29 and teaches them about mental health, trauma, grief, and loss.
A lot of us share the similar experiences where we have lost loved ones, close ones to us. And so
the program manager says it's about increasing mental health resiliency.
We've seen in studies and other reports that trauma leads to violence and other harmful behaviors, right? So the goal of the project really is to increase the knowledge that these young people are taking in terms of trauma and coping mechanisms.
A recent U of T study found predominantly Black communities in Toronto are disproportionately impacted by homicide, but have the fewest support resources for survivors. The city, which partners with CHP, says it targets communities hardest hit by violence.
We use that information to decide which communities, as well as working with the coordinators of the program, and decide what communities that we're going to go into the following year.
It started when I went to an event at City Hall.
But it's not just about helping one person. Students go on to become peer mentors in the communities, like Ayub Farah.
I always had this bit of imposter syndrome. How am I going to help the community if I can't even help myself? And so literally what I had to do is I had to, in a sense, take off the bandage and rip it off, even though it hurt, just so I can stitch it up and heal properly.
The idea, helping people heal so they can help others do the same.
For me, I do what I do because I want the kids and the youth specifically to know that they're not alone, that no matter what they've been through, right, no matter who they were, no matter what they're going through right now, that doesn't define who they're going to be.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mainly clear tonight with an extreme cold warning in place. Right now it is -14 in the city, but feeling like -22 with that wind chill. All right, let's go back to Nick now. And Nick, at least we know a warm-up is coming.
Well, Calda, we've got to talk about the cold weather before we get to some of that warmer weather that I promised you, and that shows up in our weather headlines, certainly the first couple of weather headlines. Extreme cold warning in effect for the GTA, for the City of Toronto, but we've also got an extreme cold warning issued by Environment Canada. We've got overnight wind chills below -30, but next week we can look forward to a little bit of a warm-up. There's a look at the extreme cold warnings issued by Environment Canada right across southern Ontario, and it is coming under clear skies tonight. That's going to help to radiate away some of the heat, and what you can even call it heat. We're at -13 as a high today, but it will radiate that away. We've got very cold temperatures in the forecast for tonight and tomorrow. By Sunday, it starts to cloud over, and this as we get a little bit of a push of warm air that'll continue to warm the GTA as we head through next Tuesday. By Sunday, forecast-wise, we're looking at some cloud cover and the risk of a few flurries across the region. Not so much for the GTA, but to the north and the south. Good news in this, though, the winds are going to be fairly light. Now, some areas may still see winds in the neighborhood of about 10, 15 kilometers per hour, and that will quickly drop wind chills tomorrow, but nonetheless lighter than what we were seeing over the last couple of days across the GTA. So nothing to speak of in terms of winds. Southwestern Ontario tonight, temperatures in the -20s or thereabouts, wind chills in the -30s for some areas like London, and then as we move through tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at minus double digits still, wind chills -13 to -15 across the region. Good deal of sunshine, though. Same story for the Golden Horseshoe. We're looking at temperatures here that are around -21 to -25 out toward Oshawa, with wind chills near or below -30. Sunny tomorrow, minus double digits, wind chills -13 to about -15. And then a little bit of a warm up as we head through Sunday. -6 degrees, cloud cover in the forecast there, mixed sun and cloud on Monday. And we actually get above zero, but not until next Tuesday. Calvin.
Thanks so much, Nick. The Toronto Zoo is welcoming a litter of cheetah cubs. The zoo says Amara gave birth earlier this week after a nearly 100-day pregnancy. Cheetah cubs are born with their eyes closed, and zoo officials say it will be about a week before they open them. Amara and her cubs will remain in their indoor habitat for a few months until the cubs are fully vaccinated and the weather improves. And speaking of cute animals, a giant panda cub in Singapore is getting used to public appearances. 5-month-old Lila stays with his parents most of the time, but there is a play area set up for the young one to strengthen his limbs and work on his climbing skills. It's the first ever giant panda born in Singapore. When Lila is about 2 years old, he'll be sent to China to participate in the breeding program there. And that's our show for you tonight and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will see you back here on Monday. Have a great night.